Hello, I'm James Daggar-Nickson. Welcome to Media Week. Ahead on the programme, the launch of Foxtel Now, set to challenge its online streaming rivals. Foxtel CEO Tonagh joins us live shortly. And this week's media headlines, including the Rebel Wilson versus Bauer Media Court case saga, continues as well. We'll have some analysis on this week's radio and television ratings. But first, on Tuesday this week, Foxtel launched its new streaming service, Foxtel Now, making the service more affordable for all Australians. Well, joining me at the desk, as mentioned, is Foxtel CEO Tonagh, as well as my guest host, Simon Ryan, CEO of Dentsu Aegis Network. Gents, appreciate your time today.
Thanks, James.
Tonagh, firstly, congratulations. Big week for Foxtel.
Yeah, thank you.
How significant in terms of the history of Foxtel is Foxtel Now, this announcement?
Oh, we think it's really significant. It's not just about the announcement of Foxtel Now, it's about the whole repositioning of the Foxtel brand. And so what we're trying to do is basically move Foxtel from being known as a product that's available for the premium segment of the market, you know, the 30% of people who are going to take a Foxtel product. We've got fantastic content. We want Foxtel to be for everyone. And
I suppose a lot's been made about the changing tastes of viewers and the different platforms they can do. Is this an admission that, you know, it's been wrong in the past, or just a commitment to the future of the way that we consume, if you like, content?
Yeah, no, it's not at all saying that we were wrong in the past. It's a recognition that actually there's different segments that are viewing great content now, and they want to view them in different ways. What's really clear is that linear television is still the primary way in which people are viewing television. Broadcast linear using satellite or cable to deliver, it's still the best way to consume high-quality, high-definition content. But there's plenty of people out there who don't want to watch in traditional ways, plenty of people who want to watch their content on demand, plenty of people who want to watch it on mobile devices, on tablet devices, plenty of people who want to watch it on a device like a Telstra TV. And so our view is we need to be available across all of those devices.
It's a competitive space. I mean, how much is this also a response, as we made mention of, to some of the competitors in the market?
Yeah, so it is a competitive space. What the competition has done is it's changed the attitude of Australians towards paying for television. So previously there was a big reluctance of Australians to pay for TV. There's now over 2 million people who have shown that they're willing to pay some amount of money, not as much as a premium Foxtel cable and satellite subscription, but some amount of money to access great content. And we think that there's a great marketplace there for people who are willing to pay $10 to $20 for a traditional SVOD style service. And there's a great market for people who are willing to pay $40 to $60 for more than that, adding some extra premium product.
I mean, are you announcing at all price cuts across the board? You know, is subscription, cable as well, or is it just for the online offering?
So we're continually evaluating the packaging across the board. At the moment, we've launched the Foxtel Now product, which is at that on-demand end primarily, but with the benefits of having live channels of news and live channels of sport. That's the market which is out there at that kind of $10 to $15 a month price point. We would love to really deeply penetrate that market and then offer the people who are taking that product the opportunity, if they wanted to take our fantastic sports package or our fantastic movies package.
Just on sport, first of all, I should say congratulations on Tuesday night. It was a fantastic launch.
Thank you.
And I think the team and Mark Buckman and everyone did a fantastic job with you. Can you talk to us a little bit about your sporting strategy with content?
Yeah, so I think it's undeniable Foxtel has, without doubt, the best sporting service, sporting tier available. We've got every game of every round of all of the major Australian football codes. We've got every round of the supercars. We've got every round of Formula One. We've got an amazing sports offering with, depending on how you count it, if you include racing channels, etc., we've now got 20 channels of sport. And through Foxtel Now, you can access those channels of sport for as little as $39 a month. Now, 20 years ago, we had 2 channels and one of them was only available on the weekends, and it cost $39.95 back then. And so over the 20-year period, the cost has gone down and the number of channels, the quality of channels and the access to exclusive sport has gone up significantly.
And how important is that sport offering when you look at the marketplace, particularly against some of those, you know, SVOD rivals, if you like?
Yeah, what I'd say is Foxtel is known for being the best for live sport. There's no doubt about it. I think people are aware of that. There is a concern from some consumers that they don't want to have a satellite dish on their roof. They don't want to have to sign up to a contract to justify the cost of that satellite dish, and they want to be able to dip in and dip out. Now, Foxtel Now is a great way for them to consume it, and so therefore we'd expect we'll see people coming and taking our sports offering on Foxtel Now. But we also have fantastic drama, and you just look at the extent of our drama library, where we have every episode of every series of HBO content available on demand on our product. That's something that we have, but we're not widely known for. And so I'd say with sport, we're widely known for it. With our international drama, and for that matter, with our local productions, we're not as widely known, even though our offering is fantastic.
So when you look at, the offerings and I suppose price points, is content still king? Does it still trump, looking at actual pricing? But how do you weigh those up? How do you approach it?
I think we always start from the proposition that the content is the first thing that matters. If you take Game of Thrones as an example, the next season of Game of Thrones goes to air on July 17. Game of Thrones is the single biggest event in subscription television history. It was by far our biggest audience last year. People will come and they'll subscribe to our product because they want to watch Game of Thrones. But it's not about any individual one show, it's about the total mix. If I look at the audiences we had last year, 8 out of our top 10 shows outside of sport last year were local productions, shows that we made ourselves. People come to us because of those shows. If you want to watch things like The Kettering Incident or Secret City or A Place to Call Home or Wentworth, you take Foxtel.
Can I ask, when you're looking at diversifying the offering that Foxtel Now has in the different sort of markets looking to penetrate, particularly with Foxtel Now and the lower price point, do you worry about potentially existing subscribers downgrading, those who are paying a higher price point, downgrading that to the lower price?
Yeah, it's always something we consider. There's a big difference between having your content delivered via our IQ product, via satellite, via cable, where you get that very, very high quality, no interruption, no buffering, no little spinning wheel on the screen. You're not at the mercy at all of broadband services. You're not paying for your broadband. It's actually coming off a distribution channel that we pay for on your behalf. You have the ability to record. You've got the ability to start watching something from the beginning if you've just joined in. There's a lot of functionality, a lot of benefit you get from having that premium product. Having said that, there's always price tension, and we're always looking to make sure that we're enhancing the value of our cable and satellite product. You'll see much more over the next 12 months with the IQ3, which is our primary set-top. We're rolling out the HD component of on-demand of that over the next couple of months. By the end of the year, we'll launch something called Team Link, which enables our sports fans to ensure that they never miss another game that their team is playing. In fact, it goes so far as to, if you decide, as I am, that you're a West Tigers fan, you tell the IQ3 you're a West Tigers fan, it'll make sure it records for you any interview with any of the players that occurs on Fox Sports, just as one example.
Looking as well, I suppose, at targets. I mean, do you have targets at the moment? There's about a third of households in Australia have Foxtel. What's the ambition now with the offering and trying to open up that market?
Well, I think the easiest way to describe that is the tagline to our brand repositioning is Foxtel for everyone. Yeah. And so we've got a very bold and ambitious target.
And how much traction do you hope or expect the new logo? How important a position or role does that actually play?
Look, the logo is symbolic, and logos are always symbolic. I love the new logo. It's much warmer, it's much more welcoming, it's much more inclusive, but it's only symbolic of the way in which we're trying to change the nature of the company. I think whenever you make a change to the strategy of an organisation, when you make a change to the culture, when you make a change to the approach that we have within the organisation, it's useful to use some symbolism to demonstrate the change. For me, a lot of the logo and the new brand mark is symbolism. I've used the example before that the previous Foxtel logo was all in uppercase. It felt to me like when somebody sends you a text in uppercase, it feels aggressive, it feels a little arrogant, and we wanted to soften it. Not soften it because changing the logo makes a difference, but softening it because it's reflective of what we're trying to do with the organisation as a whole.
A couple of things more broadly. You were recently in Canberra with heads of basically just about all the media in Australia lobbying for reform when it comes to legislation. What's your feeling around, the likelihood and what's going to happen?
Yeah, look, it's an area I'm very passionate about personally, and I've argued long and hard for the fact that we need holistic reform in the sector. Am I happy with every component of it? No, I'd like to see more change in anti-siphoning. But in the past, what's happened is that everybody's dug their heels in and they've refused to budge from a position which is perfect for their organisation or their industry. This is the first time that we've had the industry come together with everyone making a little bit of compromise, because we all know we have to get some of this change. The threat to our industry is significant. There's global players who are delivering much more scale than we have. Those global players don't necessarily invest in employing the same number of Australians that we do, invest in telling the Australian stories that we tell, invest back into the communities as we do. And we think that there's a real risk that unless the antiquated legislation is updated to keep up with the environment that we're all competing in, then it'll be very damaging to the Australian industry.
All right, Peter, Tonagh, on what is no doubt a very busy week. Appreciate you joining us today. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, James.
Foxtel CEO there. We need to take a break. When we come back, plenty more, all the news out of the media space this week, plus, of course, the all-important ratings. Stay with us.
We know you've always worked hard for your money. Isn't it time your money worked hard for you? Invest with La Trobe Financial, trusted by Australians for more than 60 years and judged Money Magazine's best mortgage fund 8 years in a row.
There's tough. And then there's a new breed of tough. The new Amarok, now standard with App Connect and rear view camera. From only $42,990 drive away, now with free 8-speed auto.
Adnan saw his father drown. Yana's mother was kidnapped. Aisha saw her mother assaulted. Maya desperately wants to go home. Right now, we're hearing the same stories from children around the world who are fleeing the horror of war, who've been forced outside, onto the streets and the roadsides. UNHCR can't end the conflict and violence destroying so many lives, but we can make sure refugee children are given shelter and protection, given food and clean water, reunited with families and given hope for a future beyond the hell they've been through. Just call 1300 319 032 or visit unrefugees.org.au and give $13 a month, because innocent children around the world need shelter and protection right now.
Fame's fickle. While some are celebrated, others go unrecognised. Take the traffic light, saved so many lives. But whose brainchild was it? Yeah, whoever thought of roasting coffee beans? The mobile phone, who was the inventor? What about Wi-Fi? Any ideas?
You don't have to be famous to be brilliant.
Skoda. Simply clever.
On the next Sky News Real Estate,
some of the most extraordinary cliff-top houses in the world are right here in Australia. We speak to the editor who celebrates these architectural marvels in the new book.
What makes buyers think twice about a property? We've got the top 10 turn-offs for buyers.
It's tax time and there are changes coming that property investors need to know about.
And they're the best of the best. The HIA award winners join us.
So, plus live auctions from around the country. That's on the next Sky News Real Estate.
Seems to me we've got to stop calling terrorists lone wolves. We need to call them what they are: gutless opportunists, or psycho cowards, or goat breath hats, or small wits. Join me on the B team. We're making a list. Is sewer rat hyphenated?
Welcome back to Media Week. My co-host, of course, Simon Ryan, CEO of Dentsu, Aegis, Australia and New Zealand, joins me in studio. Simon, appreciate your time. Pleasure. Let's talk a little bit about you, in particular the company itself. Give us a bit of background. Talk to us about Dentsu Aegis.
Sure. Dentsu Aegis Network in Australia. I sat here in June last year and we spoke about the business being 15 companies. We've actually grown that now. But 15 companies came off the back of a few months before I sat here in June. It was actually 22 companies we scaled a few back. We divested a few companies that weren't aligned to our vision, and then we set amongst a path to drive acquisition and to deliver on our strategy. So I'm very proud to say that we're very much on that path. And as we sit here today, we have 22 brands and businesses active within Dentsu Aegis network in Australia. We employ 1,785 people, and we have an annualised turnover of about $2.3 billion. So what does that represent in the market? That represents about 23% of the advertising market.
So every
agency land.
Every dollar spent, 23 cents.
In advertising agency land, yes. So we're about 23% of the advertising agency network, if you like, in Australia. So it's fairly significant.
Yeah, absolutely. Can you tell us a bit about the market so far this year? You know, what the market's looking like at the moment.
I think the market this year, James, is a little bit tougher than it has been in years gone by. I think what we're seeing some clients and the general media sector where we have clients focusing on some bottom line cost savings as opposed to top line revenue growth. That means that there has been a readjustment of some investment into what they put money into. So the media economy in Australia is growing. What we've seen in the last 3 years, though, we've seen the media economy grow between 7 and 9% per year, so it's actually quite high. I think over the next 3 years, as we approach 2021, we're going to see it grow about 2% a year.
Why the big change, do you think?
I think clients are actually showing a slight shift in funding in their businesses. I think when you see businesses like Amazon coming out here shortly, which is all the buzz at the moment, obviously, and many of us know that they actually employed 900 people over the last few weeks over in the US to get a lot of their back-end services right. They're here now employing content people and sports rights people as well, so they're going pretty hard. But what we're actually seeing is that we're seeing that the Australian media landscape is stable to moderate growth. I mean, we had Peter Tonagh on here a moment ago. He's actually getting some pretty good growth year on year, which is great, as is most media. But what we're seeing some clients shift money into digital platform to get their businesses ready for the new economy.
Just on that, obviously this year there's been some issues around content on specific platforms. YouTube obviously has been highlighted. Your thoughts around brand safety, and is there any lasting impact around concerns of brand safety on some of these digital sort of platforms?
I think if you look at what I could refer to, James, if you look at the revenue structures, I suppose, of a lot of the digital media and even to a degree the social media, when there has been a trust issue, there has been a dip in income to those companies. So I think clients and media agencies do react to when there is some bad news out there, particularly around brand trust. I think as we move more and more into the digital economy, I think that's going to become more of an issue moving forward, because previously a lot of brands have been built on very traditional type media, and now as we evolve into more digital landscapes and programmatic, you would find that there may be some less control as to where your ads actually fall, which means that there needs to be some governance and rules as clients and as media agencies and as communication groups to ensure that clients' ads are appearing where they should. So there is a direct correlation to trust versus revenue up and down when issues become live in the media.
And I imagine for your clients, maintaining, I suppose, the sanctity of that brand, the safety of that brand is paramount.
It is absolutely paramount, and I think that as we evolve through another range of changes in the Australian and global media landscape, we are educating clients on what they need to be careful of, what they need to watch, and then what is deemed acceptable too, because every brand out there has a different metric or a different course of action that they take when their brand appears where somewhere they don't want to appear.
And if you see that drop off in one stream of spend, if it's digital, does that get taken out altogether, or does it get generally reallocated to other streams?
It's a very good question. When there were some issues earlier this year, in particular with Google, we did see an uplift in commercial TV, so across free-to-air TV and pay TV. So we saw a direct movement of funds going back into more trusted media at the time. It's fair to say, though, that once those trust issues have been overcome and new measures have been put in place, we are seeing that money, some money stay and some money shift back to the digital channels as well. But there is a direct correlation between trust and shift of funds.
All right, let's move on and get to some of the general talking points in terms of media news at the moment. Of course, one of the big focuses is on the Bauer Media versus Rebel Wilson court case. It continues at the moment, and some interesting commentary, I suppose, a few shots at Women's Day, fake news being sort of thrown about as it relates to Rebel Wilson. Your thoughts on how advertisers view magazines or view this idea of fake news? I mean, does it have a negative impact?
I think it does. I think that what we've got to understand is that some magazines, and I preface this by saying some magazines do make sales based on fabricated news and to sensationalise issues in the market to ensure that they sell magazines. So that is an issue certainly for the magazine publishers. And I think, you know, the flip side of that is that sometimes fake news does sell. So it does have a direct correlation to their sales. And in saying that, the magazine industry in Australia is having a hard time, and I think it's fair to say it's having a hard time globally. And some are seeing moderate growth and some of them are seeing declines.
In other news this week, Time Out parent company has acquired the Australian business, perhaps helping ensure future with investment funds. Also, Peter Miller appointed CEO of News Media Works. You mentioned magazines, difficult time. How's it at the moment for newspapers? One of the most obviously traditional forms of media that we have.
James, it's certainly an interesting time for the newspaper groups as a total. I mean, whether you're looking at Fairfax or News Corp. I think there is still plenty of business opportunity out there, though. I mean, you can see with what Fairfax is going through at the moment, there is clearly an opportunity for a proper business model there and to make money. And there are good parts of Fairfax and there are not good parts of Fairfax. However, it's still a great business overall. So there is an opportunity for whichever way that they go. I think if you look at News Corp and Fairfax, you know, they're large cost organisations. And they're working in a market that for them on more traditional side of media has actually got a decreased revenue line. So the thing that they need to focus on is reducing cost. But at the same time they need to invest enough money to ensure that journalism is kept alive in this country. So we're seeing what we need is a really close look and balance between how do we keep journalism alive in Australia, keep the investment alive in newspapers and let them continue to grow. Now they are growing, but they're growing through digital channels as a main source of growth.
You mentioned you were here this time last year in June, and you'd said that, you know, maintaining the level of ad spend when it comes to newspapers. Considering what you just said, I mean, is that still the case through 2017?
I think based on our clients, and that is, as I said, we're lucky to represent a large portion of the market. We are seeing a slight decrease in newspaper spend. Having said that, we do have a range of clients that actually get very good results from newspapers as well. Yeah. I mean, we're very lucky enough to look after Woolworths, and they get great results from newspapers, as do a number of their competitive set. And I think as we see new entrants come into the market, if we see Amazon coming in at different levels now of marketing, you will see, I believe, a bit of a resurgence on the side of more traditional media.
It's funny you mention Amazon. I mean, it's something that we speak about on the channel because it seems to be kind of the Voldemort of just about every industry, if you believe all the press. How big a presence do you think an impact is it going to make when it arrives, from your perspective?
Yeah, I've heard many views, and I think that there are a lot of strategies in place from a number of big retail corporates out there, and each of them have got their own strategies. We have a couple of clients which they've shared that strategy with us. I think their strategies are absolutely sound. There's two things. We should never underestimate the power of an international visitor who will become a permanent resident soon, and we know that through the global media channels. So we should never underestimate that. However, in saying that, I think that Australian retail companies, or the ones who are really got the defined strategies to compete against those, I think will survive, and will survive quite strongly, because competition is great, but with the right strategy, they will overcome that entrant.
All right, we are running short of time. I want to quickly get to the television ratings. Week 22 will bring up, first of all, the free-to-air ratings. And no surprise, State of Origin on Channel 9 taking out the top spot. Interesting, the pre-match as well doing rather well there. House Rules taking out 4th and 5th in between both of those. Channel 7 News, 9 News, House Rules again. You've got The Voice, only one entrant on the top 10 there, free-to-air. Let's take a look at subscription, the top 5. This is sport. The NRL and AFL continue to slug it out at the moment. This time around, though, NRL taking out the top spot and non-sport, I should say, subscription for week 22. Bad Mums, the premiere, The Simpsons, Wentworth, NCIS. One of my son's favourite, Paw Patrol, taking out the 5th spot there. Look, just before we go, what about television? We've spoken about magazines, spoken about more traditional sort of newspapers. What about TV?
I think overall TV growth this year will be sitting around 5%, and that includes free-to-air and pay. I think it'll be interesting to see who the winners and losers are out of that. However, in saying that, I'm very confident of the Australian media landscape. I'm very happy about some of the changes that are hopefully going to be approved through the government. I think we all need that. And I'm hoping that we're going to see at least 3 free-to-air strong networks. Some need to overcome a few issues, but I think certainly you're going to see a very strong Foxtel.
Simon Ryan, appreciate you joining us for the full half hour. Thank you very much. Pleasure. That is it for Media Week 4 this week. Thanks very much for watching.